Hello everybody and welcome to Larry's Lounge. I'm not Larry, I'm Tom. We decided we were going to shake things up a little bit, so now I'm going to be the one who's going to be hosting Chillin and Grilling this time. And I don't use the normal intro because really, I like to think myself as pretty chill, but really that's the only thing that applies to me. I'm not at the lounge all that much, I'm kind of bad at sports as you can probably tell from the sports games. And I don't tend to use the grill that often, so only one thing applies, why use the entire intro and say fellow. Regardless though, today's dish for Chillin and Grillin is going to be hoagie dip. That is right, hoagie dip. It's a dip that tastes like a hoagie, and you dip toasted bread into it, and we're just gonna get right into that. Hope you enjoy it. Right, so, the usage for hoagie dip includes pretty much just you can use toast for dipping. It's good for like parties, like if you're watching football or something, or you can just put it right onto a sandwich and just have it that way. It's practically a hoagie, hence why it's called hoagie dip. Anyway, for this you are going to need domestic ham, the cooked variety, Genea salami, and because it needs to apparently be very specific for it, Cooper's White Sharp American. Nobody else's, just Cooper's. Then you got your lettuce, tomatoes, onion, mayonnaise, oregano, and some gourmet red wine vinegar. Fancy. Then you also got your rolls. These are what we're going to be making the sandwiches with, and we're going to be doing a little toasting of the Italian bread to demonstrate the dipping. Also, there's also potato chips. Those are optional. You can have them if you want. You don't need to. We're going to have them though. And can't eat the bowl, but you're going to need to put everything in. So that's important. So with a little help from sous chef Larry, Dad, if you could turn the camera around, show your face, give a little smile for the camera. Alright, that's enough.
What?
We've got all of our stuff all cut up and ready to go. First off is going to be the all-important mayonnaise.
How much?
Well, if you're out of the US, 500 milliliters. However, for Americans, 2 cups. 2 whole cups of mayo. That's almost an entire container, but not quite. So we're just gonna...
That's a lot of mayo.
Just gonna glop that all in here. Try and get as much of that out as we can so we can keep that it's about 2 cups. Yeah, that's about good. Next up, 2 teaspoons of oregano. No accent, so it's just straight up oregano. Boom. And mix that together with a teaspoon of red wine vinegar. Very fancy indeed. It's gourmet red wine vinegar, to be honest. Well, not to be honest, you know what I mean. And let's just mix this up a little bit. Okay, the vinegar's just about gone, and so the next thing that we're going to add in is going to be some diced onion. Now with this, easiest way to do this, as shown by Dad, was cut it into sort of a lattice. Basically, one bunch of cuts one way, then a bunch the other way, and then you turn it vertical and then you cut it. That's if you have a large onion and you only want half of it, then don't cut all the way down. Cut to about halfway. We used half of a large onion because we don't have a small onion. It calls for a small onion, so that's what you're supposed to need. And...
What kind of onion?
It was a yellow onion.
Yeah, it was a white onion.
White onion. Close enough. And yes, my hands are clean, so no need to worry about that being an issue. Let's just get a little bit of this in. Alright. And then...
That was pretty weak there.
Well, I'm gonna mix it in more.
Oh, okay.
I'm just adding stuff in, I'll get really good mixing at the end. Anyway, so next up is the ham. Now this ham.
Is it special ham?
Well, it's domestic ham for one. For two, it gets cubed. Now we get ours pre-sliced, so that makes it a bit easier to break up. You're also gonna want to break it up a little bit after you cut it, but just cut it one way, then again in the perpendicular direction, and then you get it all nice cubed. And all that into the dip. Well, It's not quite dip yet. The dip to be. Make sure all of it gets in there. It'll probably break up a bit more as you, you know, mix it around. If you want to actually break it up by hand, you can. I'm not going to, because why would I? Next up, the Genia salami. Again, we get it pre-sliced, so for that, just make sure it's all stacked up nice and neat so you don't get any weird oblong shapes when you cut it up. And again, just cut it horizontally, then vertically, all in a nice little squares, cubes, not perfect, but whatever. And now we add those in too. And let's just give this a little bit of a mix, make sure everything's at least starting to get covered before we
I have a feeling I'm going to be mixing this all up, aren't I?
We'll see. It's a lot. It surely is, and I'm no chef. You are much more of a chef than I am. Okay, so got the meats, but what?
Did you say how much meat, Tom?
Oh, half a pound of each.
That's pretty important.
That's pretty important. Half a pound of ham, half a pound of salami. Speaking of half pounds, you're also going to need half a pound of that Cooper White Sharp, or just Cooper Sharp American cheese.
Mm-hmm. And
that, bit different than this, you don't cut it. You don't cut the cheese. That's a pun. Rim shot, go. So, instead you gotta break the cheese with your hands. Make sure they're clean. And that's why it doesn't really look all cut up and such. It just looks broken, because it is broken. And we add that to the mix, because what good's meats without cheeses?
That's a lot of dip.
Yeah.
And Tom's going to mix it real well now, right, Tom?
I will try. It's a bit more than
you're used to, huh?
No, it's just this bowl isn't very big. So, thing is that first off, we found out that we needed a bigger bowl, so got a new one for that. Second, update on the mayo situation. We kind of need a little bit more, so not 2 cups, 2.5 cups, 2 1/2. All right, all right. So that's all done and out of the way. Now for the bread. You want to cut it kind of at an angle. That's an angle sort of this way, not an angle like you're cutting it like diagonal. And also, before that, just to show, we also did this with the lettuce and all the other stuff. We used the paper towel underneath of it, a wet paper towel. Keeps it from sliding. Now for the actual cutting. Just straight down and right like that. Small piece of bread, that's an end, it's probably for Dad.
What?
Anyway, you're gonna want it thin because it's gonna be toasted. And you're gonna want them nice and crisp so that they grab onto the dip nicely when it comes time to dip them. Bread's all cut up, all buttered up. Now we're ready to put it in the broiler. Because one thing you can do with this dip, besides just put it on a sandwich, is that if you have like a party, you and your friends are watching football or something.
Football? You and your friends watch football?
No. I'm giving a hypothetical situation.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to be if you're watching football. It can just be if it's just a random party you're having. But you could have like a bunch of toasted up pieces of bread like these. Or you could do a bread bowl, I think it's called, in which all the dough on the inside is just scraped out. It's just the outside crust filled up with the dip, and then put, again, toasted up bread like this all around it. So it is still a dip, but it's good.
Is that the whole loaf?
No, we're not using the whole loaf. We don't need the whole loaf. Whole loaf is too much. There's only 2 of us. So, what we're going to do with this, I'm actually not going to pick it up yet. First, we're going to be broiling it, because we've had great success with this in the past. Always want to make sure you have that part open. And just turn on the broiler, set that to high, and making sure that you always keep a close eye on it. Just stick that right
the other way.
there.
Turn it the other way.
Turn it the other way. You're going to want to turn it the other way. You're not going to want it to be vertical in there if you're looking.
Well, no, you could put it vertical. That's okay.
Why would you tell me to switch it for?
Well, I just wanted to mess with you.
Rude. Anyway. Just keep a really close eye on that, because once that starts, that's gonna toast up real quick. You don't want it to burn. Just want the butter to melt, bread to get toasty, and then you'll be good to go. I smell toast.
Are they burnt?
Nope.
Oh, some of them are a little dark.
A little bit dark, but how do I...
Just turn off.
Oh, it's probably the stop button.
That's usually how
let's
you
leave that
stop
open for a
those.
little bit. And there you have it.
Okay.
So now we've got us some toasted bread to go with our dip. One last thing we have to do. We have to put in the vegetables, lettuce and tomato, into the dip. Gotta add that little bit of color, because right now it's just like white and pink, and that's like, ew. Now the head of lettuce we cut up by cutting it first in half, then we remove the core from the half that we're going to be cutting up into further ribbons. The other half we're just going to put aside, that can be used later for perhaps something else. And the half that we're going to use, we simply cut along the cut that we had already made, cutting it into ribbons, like sort of just ribbons of lettuce. And that's really all you need to do with that. And you just cut along until you reach the edge. Let's just dump in that lettuce. Okay.
So this is the last step that you're going to be doing, right?
Besides making the sandwiches, yep.
And why is it that you put the lettuce on at the end? Do you know?
Probably like
Make something up if you don't know it.
I was going to, but
Okay.
now you've ruined the facade.
Why do you
Good
think?
job.
Why do you think?
Probably something to do with the lettuce, like either probably getting too moist.
Exactly, too soggy. And the tomatoes, that's why you add them last.
Yes, and maybe we...
Alright, time for me to mix.
Well, we gotta add the tomatoes in, even though the...
Well, you
just make a
mix the
little
lettuce
pocket right
first.
I've tried.
Alright, it's time for me to take over.
Now we gotta add the tomatoes in first. Now for the tomatoes, these are a little bit big, but we can deal with that. What you're gonna want to do is just cut them lengthwise in half. Then you're gonna want to cut each half lengthwise in half. Then each quarter, you're going to want to cut into quarters widthwise. That way you wind up with chunks.
Okay.
Gotcha, the tomatoes are going. I'm just making a little pocket so that we can just pour it all in. Right like that. There we go. If you want the tomatoes a little bit smaller, you don't like the seeds, that's your choice. You can mix that up your own way.
Everything can be altered.
Yep. I'm sure this isn't exactly as the recipe entails. Or is it? And put those right there. And I say we have a pretty good looking plate of toast and dip. Such as one might see at a party platter. But we're going to be making ours into actual sandwiches. So, you're going to need a plate. Always need something to put your food on. Need a roll, because otherwise, I didn't realize this was coming apart. Gonna put a bit of lettuce on this so that the bread does not get overly soggy. And now just take a scoop of the dip, however much you want, and just start layering it onto the sandwich you are making. And right about like that looks good enough. Sort of.
No, I'm laughing at your plating skills, but that's okay. I'm making the next one.
Alright, and last but not least,
This is Tom's plate.
chips.
Some chips.
I mean, if you want, you can even put the chips on the sandwich. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm just showing you. That's how it would look. Well, everything's all done now, so now it's time to eat.
I'm putting chips on mine.
Go for it. I said you could.
Thank you.
And it's not like the government's gonna burst in and stop you.
The government? This could be a little sloppy, folks.
Well, I think it turned out great. What do you think?
I think it's delicious.
There you have it.
Also,
That's
you
right.
have the dip here. You just grab that.
broke.
If you're going to double dip, make sure you turn your bread to the spot that you ate. Tom can't even grab any of it out. That's a shame.
Nah, forget it.
What you lose? Half your bread in there?
No, it's still there. It's just broken.
You can have a fork and put it on the bread too.
That would work. That would have worked better. I picked up some piece of bread. Anyway, though, that's the Chillin and Grillin for today. So, till next time, put your feet back, relax, have something to drink, and we'll see you at the lounge.
You're a little quick.
That was not a little quick.
You're a little quick.
I don't think so. I think you were late.
That is really good.
Thank you.